Hey everyone, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and we're about to get started with our War in the Pacific series against XTRG. But before we do that, I just wanted to have a quick candid talk with you. We have, both XTRG and myself, have received some accusations that some cheating has been going on. We've dug into them, and it does appear that there are individuals who, intentionally or not, are sharing information between the streams that they really shouldn't be sharing, and that could definitely have a material impact on the game. And I'm just going to be upfront. I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to tolerate that. If you're going to watch both of our videos, great, but don't be participating in a council of war and telling XTRG, hey, look out, the carriers might be over there, or don't be telling me, hey, the Japanese Kiributai might be coming right around the corner over there. Make sure you've got your carriers ready. We could ambush them, or even if you pretend you're hiding it and you think you're doing a good job of not sharing too much information. If you're going to be participating in providing advice, you should not be watching both streams. And I think that's my point of view. If you want to watch the series, you want to be part of the community, you want to participate, that's great, but you shouldn't be giving advice. And if you want to watch both videos, that's great, but you shouldn't be telling me what to do. You can comment, obviously, on what occurred, but you definitely shouldn't be telling me or XTRG what he should be doing or what he could be doing or what he should be worried about or any of those things. And I don't want to get into a scenario where we're policing, where we have spies on both sides of the stream, where we have people passing information back and forth. I have no appetite for that. Don't send me that information. But what I will tell you is that if it becomes very, much more apparent if this continues, then I'm just going to end the series, and I'm not going to play it anymore. Because I'm not super competitive about this. This isn't an esport for me. But I'm also not going to stumble into a midway because of anyone's ineptitude except myself. And, XTRG certainly would not want to lose the Kiributai because someone told me something they shouldn't have told me. And I use that information to deduce that this is where the enemy is. And so I want to have a great series with you all. I want to continue having a great series with you all. I enjoy the hell out of this series, but it takes all the fun out of the series if now I have to be worrying about what people in the series are telling me. If I have to worry about, is this cheating? That's just very quickly the series turns from something that I enjoy, that I do because I love it, because it's a hobby, because it's an incredible game and I love playing it with XTRG, into work, into something that just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm not going to do that. I don't have to do that. This series draws well on my channel. It gets a good number of views. It has a lot of support. It has a lot of engagement around it. But it's not the most popular. If I was only going to focus on the views and try and drive the channel's success into the future, I would focus on games that just came out, not games that came out 10 years ago. But the point is, I enjoy this game. I love this game. It's a lot of fun. I love interacting with you guys. I love talking to you guys about what's going on, what I'm thinking about. I love hearing from you because even though I don't run a council of war in the same sort of way that XTRG does, I definitely still listen to you guys and think about what you're saying. And if you tell me something, I'm going to think about it and think about if I missed something. And so it's unacceptable that information gets shared between the channels, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And if this is something that we continually have to come back to, then the series is going to end. Even if it's something where I win a battle because of it, I don't want to win because of that, and I don't want to lose because of that, and I don't want to have to be worrying if my carriers were destroyed because I suck and XTRG is better than me, or if it's because of some bad luck, or if it's because someone literally cheated. So that's about as frank as I can get with you guys. I'm not calling anyone out specifically. There's a fair chance it was just, over enthusiasm, where someone was kind of thinking I'm not spilling too much. I'm kind of hiding what I'm saying and whatnot. But we can't really accept that. And XTRG was pretty frustrated when we were kind of chatting about it as well. I think he may address it in his stream, although that was like a week ago when we talked about it, so maybe he's cooled down, maybe he won't. But at the end of the day, I don't want to have to revisit this. I'm already exhausted from having to do this. I almost didn't even mention it. We've had this happen a couple of times in the past, and I've just kind of ignored it and figured people are just a little bit over enthusiastic, and it's fine. But I think it has to be addressed, and that's what we're doing right now. So That's all I wanted. I never want to talk about this again. I just want to enjoy the series going forward. So let's jump back into the stream and let's pick this episode up. Hello, everybody. It's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to our War in the Pacific Admirals Edition play-by-email game against XTRG. Ooh, that's a long enough title there. We are moving into February 9th of 2010. Yes, February 9th of 2010. We're moving into February 9th of 1942, some time ago. And we're just basically going to see what XTRG is going to do. Recent turns, XTRG has had carriers raiding off the northwest coast of Australia. He's been driving south into the Dutch East Indies, west into the Dutch East Indies. He's been threatening the Fiji line in the South Pacific. And we're out to see what happens here and kind of figure out what our next steps are. In today's stream, we're probably not going to be looking at the actual orders that I'm all going to issue, but we're at least going to look at the combat results and take a look at a few things. Looks like XTRG has a small cruiser force and some destroyers off the northwest coast of Australia, going after some AMCs or some minesweepers, local minesweepers, which we were trying to evacuate out of Surabaya or out of the Dutch East Indies, and he's intercepted them. So presumably this will be a bit of a shooting gallery here. He's got the light cruiser Isuzu and Nagara. I always want to say Niagara, but that wouldn't make a lot of sense for a Japanese ship. So we've got a surface combat here action that's not going to be super exciting. So let's go ahead and fast forward through this as he nukes us. Boom! All of our ships go down. He gets some target practice. He expends some ammunition and some supplies. Whatever, they're all worth like 1 victory point. Doesn't matter a whole lot. Yeah, we were playing some Unity at Command earlier, Charcoal. We're getting our Monty on. The British troops were way out. I was starving my American troops for lack of supplies, and the British troops were just rolling over the Germans and Italians. So, the opposite of the historical Sicily invasion where the Americans romped and the British kind of went sluggishly. At least according to the movie Patton. I don't actually know a lot about the campaign, so I don't know how much an American movie glorifying an American general is reliable from a historical sense. Anyway, so stuff is happening, waiting to see what, some task forces are retreating from surface combat. I wonder if that's our tanker that we sent out there. Japanese have those light cruisers on the northern coast of Australia. That's probably what they're retreating from. Dauntlesses are reporting 10 Japanese ships south of New Zealand. Oh, wait, no. That's near Kopang. Never mind. Huh. It's war in the Pacific! Hey, No Name Spore. How you doing? Okay. We've got some bombardment going here on Changsha. That's nothing new. About 42 bombers looking there. Doesn't look like he did much damage, so that's good. Recon and other stuff over. Right, so some Tojo fighters are intercepting 11 Buffaloes and 4 Dutch Buffaloes over Palembang. This will be a one-sided fight, so he's got to be running some kind of offensive fighter sweep over Palembang, which should be interesting because that makes me wonder if he's going to launch like a bombing campaign against Palembang here. These are probably his best fighters for the foreseeable future, but he only has a handful of them because they haven't actually kicked into full production. I think these are like prototypes that were originally deployed to China for combat. But let's see here. No Japanese losses. We lose 3 planes. It's unfortunate. 69 planes. Nice. 69 planes are attacking Changsha. 39 of them Sally bombers. Again, he continues to hit and try and soften up our troops there. He's hitting the supply a little bit, but he doesn't have a lot going on there. Okay, so some dive bombers. We're bombing Changsha. Oh, they were sent to Indochina first? Okay, thanks, dude. Didn't know that. I feel like in the game they always start in China. No name, there's some stuff I want to do offline, frankly, and I may do another video as well of summarizing the orders, but I think we'll probably break this into 2 parts. I probably won't post this replay, though, until we're all buttoned up and we just have one video that we'll post. But there's I've got a lot of logistical stuff that I want to work through and fine-tune. and I want to do that off camera. And then once I get all that ready, then we'll kind of do one summary video, if you will, of War in the Pacific. Okay, a lot of recon. Not a lot is going on other than the fighter swoop over Palembang. Okay, some more bombing of Bataan. For 14 fighters, 14 bombers, 5 damaged. No damage done to the troops. KI-30 Ans and some Oscars. Looks like we destroyed an An here, also over Bataan and the troops. More bombing over Macau. I wonder if he's gonna have his cruisers bombard there again. Set the whole place afire. Oh, by the way, I know some of you were asking about... By the way, I hope you guys can hear me okay over there. The audio mix looks a little bit off. But I know some of you were asking about strategic bombing in China. I was talking to XTRG. We do have a house rule that prohibits him from being able to bomb Chinese industry with his bombers. It's just a cheap way to burn out the supply of China. And that's a pretty common house rule to prohibit. The only reason there was some fire and other things that are going on in Wenchao was because of when you bombard with naval vessels, you can't really pick and choose what to shoot at. So sometimes you do get some destruction of industry, which is fine. He can't control that, but at least for strategic bombing, that's not allowed. All right, so as cruisers continue to bombard Wenchao, they continue to inflict some limited casualties, port and runway hits, but no actual industry hit that time, so it looks like they shot at different things. I don't know what bad is. I think it was like 600 or something like that, charcoal, but I don't really know what good or bad is from a fire perspective with industry. Japanese bombardment attack at Wenchao. So they actually still almost lost the same number of casualties as we did. So I think our troops are still in pretty good shape there. We still have almost 400 assault value on the defensive, as well as some very good terrain, and I think level 1 forts. So I don't think he's quite ready to hit us yet, based off those results. Buckshot Brigade, thank you very much for the follow. I thought it was Buckshot Hot Brigade, and I was a little confused, but... Yeah, charcoal, I know you can get into thousands of fires when it comes to the actual bombing of Japan, so I don't think it was critical. All the troops in Wenchao still have supply, so at least for the immediate period, they're okay. Meanwhile, it looks like we got a couple of float planes destroyed here. He took the port of Soryang. We didn't really have much in the way of defenses there, so no surprise there. We lost 49 men, surrendered. Whatever. Japanese deliberate attack at Maragoi. We have a base force there. We'll win. Another Roy Thai infantry division there. You can see they successfully attacked and drove our troops back. Looks like they drove them toward Indochina. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm not really sure about the logic, charcoal, to be honest. All right, so it looks like the turn is mostly over. We're moving into the supply and repair phase. $600 fire out of 200,000 possible. What? I don't understand. Some victory point loss at Molman due to lack of garrison. All right, I do... Palembang Raiders? I guess that's his fighters. I do want to take a look at a few things here. I'm not going to be issuing orders or anything like that, but I do want to take a look at one or two things here before we wrap the stream up. Let's see here. So if we go to Pegu, you can see the 48th Gurkhas and the 16th Indian Brigades are there. Actually, it looks like they gained some... They were at like 90 assault value last turn, It looks like their disruption was brought down substantially, and their fatigue is brought down a little bit as well. So we may attack there next turn, and there's nothing he can really do to protect that Royal TIE Division. The one thing I am waiting on is the first Burma Division is moving over there, but it looks like it's probably going to take another week or so till they arrive. I don't know if it's worth waiting. The Gurkha Brigade already had a pretty good result against the Royal TIE by itself, and now that we've also recovered about half the 16th Indian Brigade's assault value, I'm kind of tempted to just launch the attack as is and overrun them, hopefully, and drive them back into Thailand, into hopefully a bad supply situation. So we may do that to clear the Pegu front of any risk from that division and really wreck that division, hopefully, once and for all. Especially now that we know there's another Royal TIE Division down here that we'll have to deal with as it moves north. We did bring the BFF Brigade north a little bit to get them a little bit safer out of Moman so they can't easily get cut off. They're behind this river line, so if he does come up from the south, they'll be in good defenses there. The Sumatra, did it escape? I believe so. Yeah, looks like it. I don't think it sank. Ship sunk last turn. The AMCs. But I don't think we've actually lost the Sumatra. Yep, the Surabaya got sunk, but the Sumatra looks to have escaped. So huzzah for that! Take that, XTRG! The Sumatra is safe! Meanwhile, he's got his cruisers moving east up here. There's no heavy cruiser, we know that. That's the light cruiser task force. We don't really have much else to worry about there. It does look like his carriers have pulled into Koh Pang, so that's something we need to think about. I don't know if they're just refueling there or what. He's got 4 airfield capacity there, so he's basing some heavy bombers, or some, not the heaviest Japan has, bombers out of that region. So we need to think about that. But he's obviously having his carriers pause at that base, which is really kind of far forward for a forward operating base for carriers. So that's something we should think about. Not really going to go through a lot in this turn or in this episode. We still got almost 36,000 supply. I think we were at 36,000 last time. We're loading some supply up here at Tarkin. We've got about 400 on out of a max of 600. We've got another 900 at the base, so I think we'll probably load this up next turn and be good there. The Singapore force had like 1,100. Actually, I think it was about 1,000 assault value last turn. Still around there. He's bombing them, but, you know, whatever. We were rebuilding fortification at Changsha. What's this? Just 1 unit. He's got like 4 units here southeast of Changsha. We've also got some units to the west here of Henyang as well. So if he tries to flank Changsha, we do have some troops in place to prevent that, depending on what these guys are all doing over here. We still have 4,700 assault value, so that really didn't drop. Supplies actually went up in Changsha this last turn. All troops are in good supply. All troops are in good supply, good spirits, and good morale. Everybody's happy. No problems at all here. The fortification building continues to progress back toward level 5, although it's not quite there. And we drove the Japanese troops out of Nanying, and we've got these troops here. Some pursuing, perhaps, but the rest of them are still in supply, so that's good. British ships and the American carriers, that'll be for next time. I have some plans, but I don't want to disclose them at this time. You know, these guys are still not... They're moving slow as molasses. Get in touch with each other, guys. I don't want to burn all your fuel, but it kind of is annoying. Hermes still has supply, so that's fine. But yeah, the American carriers we'll talk more about when I actually have the rest of my turn and issue my orders. I've got some plans. Let's just say that. Apparently, he's intercepted a full Chinese corps here between Xinjiang and Hankow. I'm sure he'll drive them back, but for the moment, they're going to interrupt Japanese supply, so that'll be fun. Or at least intercept any Japanese rail transport if there is any. Meanwhile, we have 9 battleships in Pearl Harbor. 5 more days till Nevada is done. And then we'll have 6 battleships ready for action. So that'll also be fun. Meanwhile, how are we doing on political points with that Admirals Division over there? Or with the formation we're trying to build into the Admirals Division. Everybody's in San Diego. Some of them are switching HQs. We have 680 political points available. So the good thing is, with that 680 political points, we can't quite do the 164th. But I think next turn, we will be able to form the Admirals Division. So good news for us. I need to think, because I want to launch some counteroffensives here in the Pacific. But I'm not quite sure where. And I don't think we'll launch it, like, immediately. But we need to plan for it. You know, there's some bases that I'd like to look at potentially retaking. Stuff that's not too valuable, but that we can get some easy wins. And maybe throw XTRG off some of his strategy. Or maybe cause him to commit the carriers somewhere and delay other moves. So I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do yet. But I'm kind of thinking through some stuff, and I've got some ideas. All right, everybody, we are back. This was kind of a weird episode where I recorded it in 2 parts, but I have gone through my turn, and I have figured out what I'm going to do, so we'll just kind of go over that briefly here. First off, our troops in the mountains that are working their way toward Burma are moving, but they're moving very slowly, and they're still taking quite a bit of time to get there. So we've got a couple of brigades, we've got some other troops that are all on their way there. But it's probably a good thing they're not here yet because we're actually burning through supplies at a pretty prodigious rate. We've got 13,000 supplies in Rangoon, 3,000 at Pegu. We have a little bit more at a couple of other bases around here. But we don't actually have a ton of supplies in Burma at the moment. We also know that Burma is currently under enemy air umbrellas. We know enemy bombers have hit Rangoon and ships in the port, so we have to be mindful of that. We're currently actually reinforcing the supplies of Port Blair, which has kind of been a lily pad for our air forces moving from Sumatra down to Rangoon, up to Rangoon. Meanwhile, we do have some supplies coming into Rangoon. 42,000 supplies coming in specifically on several slowish merchant ships. They're on their way there. They're going to be under enemy air attack. But what we're actually going to do is when they get up just around the Akiab area, we're going to actually pause the convoy here. We're going to order them to maintain station. We may actually even send them up to Akiab. And then we're going to send them down one ship at a time down to Rangoon, try and get them to unload. Larger convoys like this are much easier to spot by enemy patrol aircraft. Smaller convoys are very difficult to see with patrol aircraft. So we'll wait out of range. We'll drop down one at a time, unload the supplies, and pull out. And that way, over the course of maybe a week, hopefully we can get 42,000 additional supplies into Rangoon. Additionally, our carriers, for whatever reason on the Sumatra coast, our carriers are still struggling to really gain any headway in closing with each other. The Hermes here hasn't started suffering system damage, but some of the other secondary ships have. I can't replenish ships at sea because there's no fuel left, and I've tried to close our other carriers with it, but they're just moving pretty darn slow. So might be another day or two before they merge. I don't know what this means. What's the 3 stars there? Can they not merge? I don't know what the stars mean. I would like them to merge. But anyway, because our other carrier and battleship here still have a reasonable amount of fuel, and they should be able to refuel those guys up sufficiently, I think. Meanwhile, I'm going to send some fuel to the Coast Islands, so if we need to, we can move the Hermes that way and refuel them over there. I don't really have any refueling tankers. I've got a lot of tankers. I don't really have any fleet oilers anywhere nearby to use as a replenishment craft. Meanwhile, our mine layer over here is actually out of fuel as well. The Regal on his way back to Perth after kind of acting as bait for the Japanese carriers that had been raiding the area. So we're going to send some heavy cruisers and light cruisers up there to escort them. They'll also serve as a shield in the event that these enemy cruisers swing back west and try and raid anything up in this area. We'll have some heavy cruisers and some light cruisers to intercept such a task force as we saw last turn. The Sumatra, meanwhile, made it to Port Hedland, so it is at least temporarily safe. We did send it into dry dock, although there are no dry docks there, but we did send it into dock, so it's going to try and do a little bit of repairs to some of the damage it's taken and hopefully hide until better circumstances await it to try and escape. Meanwhile, we've got subs coming down here to try and lock in his carriers. His carriers have pulled back to Kopang, so you can see he's got CVEs here in port. It's a decent port, a level 3 port. He can't replenish torpedoes unless he's got tenders there, but in any event, he can replenish quite a few things there and be ready for sea in all respects. We haven't seen his carriers in a while. We've seen something up here west of Truk, moving west of Truk, but we haven't actually seen his carriers in a little bit. We've seen a couple of ships down here near Rabaul. My intent is to reinforce Port Moresby with at least a battalion of troops to bring its garrison strength over 200. Additionally, I am going to send a division of troops to Darwin. I don't know if he's serious or not, but XTRG did mention that he was going to invade Northern Australia in a chat with me. I don't know where he'd invade. There are bases in Northern Australia that are worth some victory points, and they'd be in a pain in the ass to try and retake. Darwin is obviously the most valuable at 90. It's also the best facility. Most of these others are pretty poor ports, at least at the start. Derby can be a level 6 airfield. That's pretty good. And Broome is already a level 3 airfield, but nothing is more than a level 1 port, with the exception of Port Hedland, which is a level 2 port, but it's kind of isolated out there all by itself. And anything on the western coast, with the exception of Carnarvon, is actually in range of air support. So Darwin seems like the main base to base our defense at. And I'll probably move a division to Catherine over here, and then it can react wherever is necessary. Meanwhile, I pulled the bulk of the other troops I were sending to Darwin, other than the division, back and kind of reinforcing the east and west coasts of Australia as well. And we're going to bring a battalion of the broken up 30th Australian Brigade to Moresby to get us up to over 200, hopefully closer to 250. So we've got 18 assault value on the way back here. That'll drive us up to 207, and then we can bring 40 more in to get us almost to 250 garrison strength here as we're working on building the fortifications up to the next level. We have a reasonable amount, but not a lot of supply in there, so that's something we'll have to think about. Meanwhile, not a lot of changes anywhere else. These ships did finish unloading, so we'll go ahead and have some of these guys pull back. So we had some tankers that just unloaded fuel at Pago Pago. We'll go ahead and have them pull back. We'll go ahead and set a waypoint here so that they're not sailing toward the enemy. And we have a lot of tankers on their way back to Los Angeles, by the way. Los Angeles has kind of been our tanker hub, if you will, and that probably will remain the same. Just it's easier to keep track of stuff if they're all kind of moving out of one base. Actually, 20,000 fuel on the way to Melbourne from LA right there. So that's a tanker that's in transit, actually. Doesn't look like they'll have fuel to get home, but they should have enough to get to Melbourne. Meanwhile, these guys are sending some troops to Vavu, so they're unloading a Marine paratrooper regiments and other stuff here. The port capacity is currently a level 1. We're also sending them some supplies and troops and tanks to Auckland. And then we've got these guys returning back. We also have some Canadians on the way to, I think, Palmyra Island. And we've got a task force on the way to Christmas Island as well. And that's kind of the situation right now. I don't have a ton else going on. We are going to attack at east of Pegu, so we have the 16th Indian and the 48th Gurkhas, both ready with an assault value of 121. Both have supply. Both of their fatigue and disruption is down. So we're going to go ahead and launch a deliberate attack against the Royal Thai Army division here. They may not drive them back, but they should at least inflict more casualties on the enemy than they will then receive. Moving a few troops around in China, but not a lot of dramatic action over there, at least not this turn. Yeah, not a lot else to talk about. We've mostly evacuated Java and Sumatra. We're in the process of getting as many fighters out as we can. We've moved some of our bombers up to Leto, so we've got a Liberator squadron and 2 squadrons of flying fortresses up here at Leto or Leto or however you pronounce that. We aren't yet getting sufficient reinforcements or really much of any reinforcements of our bombers yet. And there's a lot of logistics going on, so moving fuel around, moving supplies around, but not a lot of exciting stuff this turn. We do have some bombers or some battleships at Pearl Harbor. The Nevada will be ready in 5 days. The Oklahoma will be ready in 48. So 2 battleships ready inside of a month and a half. To add to the 5 that are already in service there, we'll have a very strong battle fleet there at Pearl Harbor. In terms of the turn itself, in terms of what happened last turn, we lost 7 air-to-air. He lost 0. We lost nothing to flak or on the field. We lost 4 ops. He lost 8 ops, 1 flak. So that was 9 to 11 in terms of losses today. Most of our losses were Dutch Buffaloes over Singapore, I believe. Or actually, maybe that was Palembang. And a couple of Royal Air Force Buffaloes as well. I think that's about it. We have 680 political points. So we're 1 to 2 months away from being able to form the Admiral Division, which is probably going to move into the South Pacific in a blocking position temporarily until we decide where we want to launch a counterattack. I'm also debating putting together kind of a scratch force to go after Midway. We have a sub there that's not really detecting much movement or action. But that's an idea that we may do. We're also in the process of repositioning our subs. So we had a lot of subs that were kind of stuck off the northeast coast of Japan. They weren't doing much. We had some subs in the Sea of Japan. We pulled a lot of that stuff around and moving them around to more logical choke points on his logistical supply chain. Still have some up here as well. But that's just something worth calling out. And we've gotten a bunch of subs that have arrived in Australia to get more fuel as well. So that stuff is ongoing. Meanwhile, not a lot of other things to talk about at this moment, so we'll probably go ahead and end this video here. Hope you guys are enjoying the series, and we'll live stream and we'll do a little bit more of a comprehensive overview in our next video, and I'll do that all in one fell swoop next time. But until next time, this is the Historical Gamer, once again saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.